Hey, good afternoon, friends. Pat Zemer here with MagnaWave for the Thursday afternoon MagnaWave Wellness Webinar. As you know, we do these webinars every Thursday, talking with people of interest, people in the wellness field, to help us be healthier and have better wellness in our life, and how these particular products can interact and be complementary with the use of MagnaWave. So that's what we're all about today, and we're going to move right along. And I want to introduce you to our guests, and we can get to know them a little better, and then get into the heat of the discussion, or the meat of the discussion, if you will. You'll be able to ask questions, and we'd be happy to answer them at that point. So here we go. I'd like to introduce our guest today. It's Max Champie. He's the man behind the C60. He's on, I believe he's on your left there as you're looking at the screen. And then Phil Catalano, who works with Max. He's a NASA scientist. We'll get some good information about that. And they have a guest with them as well, whose brief testimonial is available on our website. So without further ado, Max Champie, welcome aboard. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get going.
Good morning. Let's start with not only talking about ourselves, but also about how we came up with the C60 product, so that, you know, there's a lot of hoopla on the internet about this. So let's set the story straight. That
would be great. We'd love to do that.
So Phil and I worked and were recruited for a think tank here in Denver years ago, and that's how we started working together, was the recruitment at a local think tank. And during that time, I was sent to California to help a company, Blue On Energy, develop the final stages of their refrigerant. And in 2011, 2010, I was working on the Blue On refrigerant, developing it, and was looking for a lubricating attribute to make the refrigerant slicker in the system, and came across nanoparticle carbon and started playing with the idea. And Ken Schwartz of Purple Power worked with us and was my chemist, working at as a consultant with me at Blue On Energy. And I started conveying to him that the use of this C60 could be also consumed, and we talked about it. And during that phase, my son called from Colorado, because I was in California, and said my mom had developed early stage Alzheimer's and was having problems. We were going to have to hire a full-time nurse. So during my research through Blue On and late night hours looking at how to get C60 and incorporate it into the refrigerant, I ran across the research from Europe where they had done the rat studies. And I just put it in file off to the side because it didn't have value for a refrigerant. Well, I revisited that and dug deeper, and within 30 days, I returned back to Colorado with a C60 product that we started trying on my mother. And because my sister, one sister had worked for NASA, and the other sister was a legal assistant, I figured I'd better take it too, in case he killed my mother. I didn't want to be for the repercussions of that or make her worse. So with that being said, she and I started a protocol of it. And within 90 days, she was driving. She got her driver's license back, and this was at age 88. And she got her driver's license back. Within 120 days, she threw away her reading glasses and started. She went and retook her driver's license and told them that she wanted to take it without her glasses for the first time since she was 42, and she was 88 at the time. And she retook the driver's license and removed the demand, or the requirement of wearing glasses off her driver's license for the first time since she was 42. And now drives a car, and she's 92. So if you're in the mountains and you see a silver smart car that says Granny on the license plate, go the other way.
So that's how you got involved, and so once that happened, then it was just, let's go, let's see what we can do. Correct?
That's it, relatively. What we did was, because of the repercussions of her increased in health, we started. Phil was working with me through the think tank still. He came, we did a spin-off and created Live Longer Labs and started doing research to create the product. And we were doing it for friends and family only, wasn't anything for a commercial application, until people just started showing up at our door, and it literally exploded from that point. I mean,
absolutely incredible. And my situation is very similar to that with you. You and I met at a trade show this past summer. We were introduced and we got a chance to visit, and you got me on the product. And I don't think I've told you this since that time, but you got me on the product in June. I went in July, excuse me, for my annual half-year physical. And the doctor looked at me and my blood work, and she said, well, you're borderline diabetic, and this is off and that's off. Your blood work looks the same way it's looked for the last 7 or 8 years. And then I went back for my October physical and did the blood work and went and sat down in her office, and she pulled it out and she says, well, your blood's perfect. And I've not seen your blood work look like this in 10 years. And I thought, oh my God. Well, the only thing I'd done different was the C60. What really reinforced it is my wife did the same thing. She went to her July physical, had issues, went back to her October physical, and the doctor said the same thing to her. Your blood looks better than it's looked in 7 or 8 years. So that's just reinforcement for what you're talking about.
Yes, I mean, and honestly, we're serving a small village if you did the math. We've got 20,000 people that buy from us regularly, and out of those we get thousands of emails on a monthly basis, from animals to the human being to kids to various modalities, things that don't have a solution. It's changing, and right. So the number one thing we get from people is they now have hope, because the condition or something that they had, there was no solution. They didn't have it.
Can you tell us a little bit? I know you got a doc with you in the room who may have to leave, so however you want to handle that with regard to this, but can you tell us a little bit about the telomeres and how this affects that, and what goes on, and what the telomeres are, and so forth?
All right. Yes, we can. And even one of the individuals that did one of the telomere tests is in the room also. He works for Pure Bella Vita that reships our product internationally. But we hypothesized that the removal of oxidative stress from the system was affecting the mitochondria in a way that may lengthen telomeres, may change telomere length. And so we took some telomere test kits, multiple ones, and because he's in the room and he's shaking his head yes, so I can talk about it. He's 68, 69, so he's lived a year since then. But the telomeres are the end of your DNA strand, and they're like shoelaces that are encapsulated in plastic. And if your shoelaces come undone out of the plastic, your shoelaces are done. So as these telomere links break off over a period of time, that's called your Hayflick limit. And when
called your what?
Hayflick limit.
Hayflick limit, okay.
And when they break off to a point, the actual DNA will die, and that's part of the aging process. So science has come up with a reasonable belief that the longer the telomeres are, the longer your chance of living is, because that actual DNA strand has a barrier at the end of these, it has increased its Hayflick limit. And so we had John do a telomere test. He had a stroke and had some issues, and he's Italian and eats like a wild man, and doesn't exercise much, and fist fights and all this weird stuff. So, with that being said, his chances of living past 70 were, and he took the telomere test after taking C60 for what, a year, 2 years, something like that, 2 or 3 years, and his results, we have those results from a third party. His results were off the chart. They had to run it twice to verify it, but they showed he had 107% chance of making it to 100 years old based on telomere extension.
We need to see him. He needs to stand behind you and wave to us so we.
And he works. He's one of the owners of Pure Bella Vita. So
hey, how we doing? Thank you. That's incredible. He looks great.
No,
Thank
he does.
you.
He does. We'll never hear the end of it.
So go ahead.
So that's the telomere thing. So we've ran multiple other tests. They're not in the room, but the results are almost linear. In other words, when they take the test, they take 1,000 people that are in the same demographic, within 10 years of your age. And then they go by all these variables to make sure that you get 1,000 people that are as close to you in relationship to their database. And then they compare your telomeres to theirs. And John's, if you watch the graph, they're going parallel. And then when they test his telomeres, he's off the chart. They had to move it on the graph, and they said it wasn't actual because they had to modify the graph. So we have 8 of them that show the same results.
Absolutely incredible. So you can look at the aspect of the product, increasing your telomeres, which potentially increases your ability to live longer and be younger. I guess that was part of the rat thing. The rats appeared to be younger, correct?
That's it. I don't want to be 100 years old and not know who I am or be able to feed myself or go to the bathroom on my own ability. So it was more important maybe not to even extend my mother's life, but to give her quality of life.
Right.
So by giving her quality of life, my mother's 92, fixing to be 93. She lives by herself. She drives a car. She shops. She was on a walker when I got her. Now she carries her man beater, she calls it, her cane. And in fact, I have pictures of her. I made her crank the ice cream machine the last time we made homemade ice cream. So, and Phil was there. That was this past summer. So
tell me about, telomeres is one thing, and I know, so what other aspects can we think about the C60 aiding or enhancing as far as our wellness is concerned?
Well, what you need to do is you can go to Google, put in any modality you want, from arthritis to Castleman's disease to, poor vision, diabetes. It doesn't matter the modality, whatever your major health threat is, and then put in space oxidative stress and press Google search, and you will get scholarly papers with discussions about, I'd say 99% of all health issues are fueled by oxidative stress. So if we remove the fuel for the problem, the body allows the body to fix itself. We're not doing anything but removing the fuel, the cause of the fire. We're not putting out the fire, we remove the cause of the fire.
So as you said, eye issues, macular degeneration, I think you have some help for us there. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, let me introduce Dr. Loretta Ivy. Let her come around the table. She can sit in my chair or because she's excited. She's as giddy as a school kid over this thing. And this is the university or college she works at. We do work with her. So take the seat, Loretta.
Hi, Dr. Ivy. How are you?
Like the soap.
Like the soap.
Like the soap.
I just have a bad accent. So.
Okay, that's incredible. So, Dr. Ivory, tell us a little bit about your experience with C60.
Okay, well, first of all, for people who don't understand what macular degeneration is, it's the leading cause of blindness across the world in people over 50 or 60. And it's as far as the profession is concerned, it is progressive, which means it's going to get worse. It's incurable. And then the attitude is, if you're really lucky, you'll die before you go blind. I mean, don't you love that? Anyway,
Yeah. Never mind.
It is encouraging. It is encouraging. So I was diagnosed about 7 years ago, and I have a very clean diet. I don't do GMOs, and eat organic and grass-fed, pastured, meats. I drink raw milk. So, as far as I was concerned, I was doing everything right. And I still got this diagnosis. And so I continued, just like the research that Max did, I was on the web, I was on PubMed, I was on clinicaltrials.gov. I mean, it was really looking at what's breaking news about what we can do.
Right.
And it was all the same stuff. The only thing that came out of the National Institutes of Health was vitamins, which really surprised me because you don't think the National Institutes of Health promoting vitamins, but lycopene, zeaxanthin, astaxanthin, which are antioxidants. That's the only thing that they had. And they didn't guarantee that this would help. The clinical trials, against placebo, was better than nothing, basically. So when Phil, whom I have known forever, introduced me to Max, and Max told me about this, it sounded too good to be true. It's like, where's the research on it? Well, there isn't any research on macular degeneration and C60. I'm doing my own research now. And so in, was it October that I started the
Well, you were taking it as
right, and then I was
on a weekly,
right.
Whatever, in a small quantitative amount.
Right.
And we met in October. And I said, I can change that macular degeneration. And I said, if you'll take a bottle a week, if you'll take a bottle a week, you will see results because you will increase your oxidative stress removal content and will start breaking even with homeostasis, and your body can start healing your eyes. So in October, she started taking an entire bottle a week.
On Sunday.
On Sunday.
On Sunday.
And would text me and say,
yes, I did.
I took my bottle.
Yeah, I did.
Blah, blah, blah.
I would hold the bottle upside down and say, see, empty bottle. So in November, when I went in for, they're called OCTs, ocular computerized tomography. Anyway, so pictures of the inside of the eye, the macula of the eye. The first thing, I had actually had the tech show them to me. The first thing, yep, there you go.
Yeah,
yeah, that's fusing. And that's an accumulation of trash, basically, in the eye. And yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like. And that was what mine was looking like. Actually, it was even worse than that. But that's okay. So when I went in November, those really big lumps were gone. Yeah, that's the left eye. And the first thing the retinologist said to me is, what have you done different since the last time I saw you? And so I told her, I said, well, I'm taking a new supplement called, C60. It's from Live Longer Labs. And she shook her head. She said, no, that can't be it because I don't know anything about that. So it's got to be something else. I said, no, I don't think so. So anyway, so the latest pictures, which you don't have, are even more exciting. And I don't know if you can actually see those. The top one is from January. So if you just look at the difference between that and the pictures before, and here's the latest one right there. We just took it this week. And all of the metabolic waste is being removed. I mean, as far as the medical profession is concerned, that can't happen because that's like scar tissue, and you can't fix scar tissue. Well,
wow.
apparently you can. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So that's the right eye. And then the left eye, there's two different kinds of macular degeneration. Most people have dry macular degeneration, in which you just get that buildup of the metabolic waste that we were just talking about. The worst kind, fortunately more rare, but the worst kind is called wet macular degeneration. And that's when there isn't enough oxygen in the eye. And so it grows new blood vessels, but the blood vessels aren't healthy and they leak and or they rupture and bleed. And that is, that's going to lead to blindness very quickly. There is a possible treatment for it. They actually inject the eyeball with medicine that prevents those bleeds or plans on. Yes, I know.
When you told me that,
Yeah, I know.
I said
So I can actually show you that, and you had some of those pictures, but right there you can see that's an accumulation of fluid in my left eye. Not a good thing. Bad thing. And then this is the picture on Tuesday.
wow, that's incredible.
I know.
Are you still, now let me ask, are you still taking the C60 at the rate of a bottle a week, or have you kind of backed off?
No, absolutely not. Bottle every Sunday. I don't just glug it. Yeah. I don't glug it down. I mean, I spread it out throughout the day, but absolutely a bottle every Sunday.
Now, let me ask, and from the position of a doctor and Max and Phil, would there be a time that you would say, okay, it's getting better and I'm under control, my homeostasis is good, can I cut back a little bit to see if it maintains?
I think that there's a possibility of that, but I want my eyes to return to completely normal.
Right.
And Max and I have talked about this, and we're breaking new ground here because we don't have this data. There are no global, double-blind placebo-controlled trials, and so I'm kind of
one of them. One of many.
Yeah,
but one of them.
I'm the
eyeball.
Yeah, and so we don't know that yet, and I want everything to be really reversed. I want the disease to not be there at all. And then, like I said, Max and I have talked about backing off maybe to 3/4 of a bottle a week and then see what happens. And because I get the pictures done almost every month. And so we would be able to track, negative changes. And so that would be good information, but all of this information, it's brand new. I mean, we don't have 100 people doing this protocol.
You don't
go ahead, Max.
You don't want to chance it, Pat.
No.
It's like jumping out of the airplane and say, well, if you poke one hole in the parachute,
right.
Are we still going to be able to float? If you poke two, this parachute's still working pretty good. At what point do you poke too many? So she, at this point, we have other athletes as well as myself, Phil, John that you saw, people at Pure Bella Vita, all the people that work with us, we all take a bottle a week. We just do.
But I just take mine all in one day.
She takes hers all in one day, and we all take it at various levels just because of the results we're seeing and the health that we have. We can.
And there's no downside. I think that's one of the things that people don't understand is that according to the rat studies, there was no toxicity involved at any level. I mean, at hundreds of times what would be considered a dose. There just simply doesn't seem to be a downside. So there's no toxicity involved. So if your body doesn't need it, as we found out on Sunday,
sure, we can talk about that.
Yeah,
too.
The body just eliminates it.
Right.
And, so I just really don't see a downside. I really don't see a future where I'm not taking it.
Oh, I understand that. I didn't mean not take it necessarily, but I mean I guess in my situation, let's say, if my blood levels continue to remain normal or good to where the doctor liked them, and I currently do 4 drop fills twice a day. Could I cut back to 1 or 4 once a day to see how that is maintained? I mean, people certainly look at budgets and all that kind of stuff. So I was just curious as to the thoughts on that.
Well, here would be my knee jerk on that. My knee jerk on that is that as you collect more birthdays,
Mm-hmm.
Nice way of putting it.
I like that. There's going to be more opportunity for oxidative stress. So, just because of the toxic environment that we live in now,
air we breathe, the food we eat, water.
Yeah, they'll start with the fluoridation, and so and thyroid damage. So as we collect more birthdays, there's more opportunity for damage. And
correct.
So it seems to me that keeping the level that made you healthy might be a good idea until we get more clinical data.
And right. We never get it except through us.
Yeah, we may never. Right. We may never run a placebo-controlled double-blind study.
One of the things that at MagnaWave, and Dr. Ivory, you may not be familiar with this at this point, but Max and I have discussed it. He's experienced our equipment. It's pulsed electromagnetic field equipment that enhances the oxygenation of the blood, allows the blood to be able to uptake more oxygen to better utilize it, to better heal itself, and to improve the blood flow through the body. And I would think that is a very complementary aspect of what you're getting with the C60.
Yes.
Yeah, I would think so. Lack of oxygenation that's high blood pressure, that's type 2 diabetes with the loss of another good reason to lose your eyesight. In fact, a really close friend of mine, a chaplain at one of the prisons here in town, can no longer drive because his diabetic retinopathy, so the damage to his eyes from his diabetes is so that he can no longer drive. The leading cause of non-traumatic amputation in the United States is type 2 diabetes. And that's all because of oxygen. And so getting oxygen perfusion into tissues is really critical.
Yes.
Right.
Really critical.
So let me ask, from the standpoint, as we collect more birthdays, I'm going to collect another one March the 17th. But when you look at it from the aspect of a younger person, to maintain certainly their telomeres, good homeostasis and health. But what about an athlete, for example? Tell us about how the impact could be on an athlete.
We have Division I athletes. We have Olympic athletes. We have pro athletes that play for a local pro sports club. And then we even have a golfer that has reemerged as one of the top golfers that is on the product, but I can't say his name. So
we have the same situation with the pro golf players.
Hypothesize who that might be, but most of them all take minimum of a bottle a week. And like the Division I athlete, as well as some of the swimmers for the Japanese, they have seen that they can go to the weight room or do a workout 2 times a day where their body couldn't stand, but doing it once a day. And the word is spreading in that group that it is changing their recovery time. And
it makes sense.
And so it's off the chart without being a performance-enhancing drug, because it's not enhancing anything. All it's doing is removing the oxidative stress from your lactic acid and your muscle stress from doing the workout and allowing it to recuperate at a higher rate.
I have to say something. I have to interrupt.
You can interrupt.
Yeah, okay. So
you do all the time.
I know. I do. My students tell me the same thing. So
poor Phil back there hadn't been able to say anything yet.
He's the reason they canceled the space program. So. No.
Okay. Right. So best corrected vision. So before I started the C60, my best corrected vision was 20/40, which is right at where you're allowed to have a driver's license. On my last visit there on Tuesday, my best corrected vision was 20/40.
Wow.
So it blew my retinologist's mind. I mean, she just couldn't deal with that information.
So she just ignored it.
So she ignored it. Yeah, that's exactly what she did. Yeah, she ignored it.
You're a fluke.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's totally true. Yeah, but yeah, she couldn't understand it. Didn't want to talk about the C60 because she hadn't heard about it, and so she just chalked it up to, we call them outliers when we do clinical trials. Here's the progression, and here's somebody up here, kind of like John with his telomeres, and he's an outlier, and so I'm an outlier. Yay!
Okay, so we can see how when you talk about the athlete, and this would be the same thing for a younger person as well, improved stamina, gives you a better recovery rate just because of the homeostasis that's created by having this in your body. Is that a fair assumption to?
Well, yeah, you've got an extensive medical background. We've discussed this at Pat. And let's say as you reach your late teens, early 20s, your body is overwhelmed. This was discussed with Dr. Joe Newsma, the toxicologist. And your body's overwhelmed by oxidative stress species. And so it's playing catch up. So then that's when you start seeing your age progression, because your body's not fixing itself as fast as it did at a youthful age, because now you're subjecting yourself to so much more. So homeostasis loses ground. It can't guard all the walls. So things are pouring over the walls. Well, by adding C60 to the equation, we remove the enemy or reduce the enemy to a much lower number, and homeostasis is able to do things that it did at a youthful age that you haven't seen, or like myself, I haven't seen in 30 or 40 years. That I've jumped off the tailgate of my truck, and I'm in my 50s, and I jumped off my truck like I was 18 again. And 5 years ago, I wouldn't have done it because I was afraid my knee gave out. So I'm doing things and feeling things that is changing because we're allowing the body to heal itself, which we've never been able to do except for at a youthful.
Exactly. So let me ask you a question. I do a lot of work with people who, in like you talk about, with various health issues and that type of thing, and we all have the frequently asked questions that everyone always asks. And then I always ask them is, what's the question that they don't ask that they should ask? What do you have? You understand where I'm coming from? What is it that people don't ask you or don't think about that they should when it comes to C60?
They think it, and this is off the cuff, they think that it's a solution, it's a miracle cure-all, and that's not the case by any stretch of the imagination. It's a mathematical equation. If you put 1 in oxidative stress and we're using 1 out C60, then you're breaking even. If you put in 1 in oxidative stress and you put 2 in C60, now you've got 1 towards homeostasis and you're starting to tip the scale. Most people buy a bottle, and because of financial reasons, and they're so used to snake oils and false promises and all the variable things that we've seen since TV was invented, and they take this bottle and they paid X for it, $50, whatever it is. They take a little dropper full because they want it to last. Well, it's like painting a house with a toothbrush. You know, if you're going to go pain here, by the time you get on the other side, the porch fell off. You know, so you got to use the product. The objection, the necessity of it is to get it into your system as soon as possible, so that it can start doing what it was designed to do. And most people, when they don't ask me, they buy a bottle and they say, "Oh, I'm so excited," and then in 3 weeks they say, "Well, I haven't felt anything. I haven't felt anything." I said, "Well, how much are you taking?" They said, "Well, half a drop a day." I said, "How the hell do you even get? What is a half a drop?" You know, there's so everybody's reluctant to get it in their system, and it's not for everybody. You know, I have people that say, I can't believe it. And I said, not a problem. You know, I can lead you to water. I can't make you drink, you know.
Right.
So we didn't design it for the monetary gain aspect. We designed it to save my mother, and now it's just parlayed into all this group. And
right.
We've got like 26 doctors, cardiologists, ear, nose, and throat specialists, oncologists, Dr. Loretta Ivy. I mean, we've got doctors from all over that use it themselves and are now giving it out to their patients.
Okay, so we talked about the opportunity that, as you and I have discussed, I guess the standard dosage is 3 dropper fulls twice a day. I do 4. Is there a loading dose? Do you recommend a loading dose?
Everybody's different.
A bottle on Sunday.
Yeah, a bottle on Sunday. Everybody's different, man. You know, if you like to nip the bottle at night, if you smoke a cigarette after a fist fight, you know, if you drive stressfully to work, do you drink crummy fluorinated water? Do you eat crappy food with plastic simulated cheese? I mean, it's an input-output thing. So the more you put in oxidative stress, you've got to compensate it with C60, or you're losing ground. It's like running up a hill that never ends. But
and you know, go ahead.
But so if you take let's say you get it and you take a bottle of it and break it out over a weekend or a day, like Dr. Loretta does, and you take a bottle of it, and you may say, "I want my eye to heal," you know, like she's doing, and you take a bottle a week for 6 weeks, and your eye doesn't heal, but all of a sudden you're running up and down the stairs when you had arthritis, and you're saying, "But my eye hasn't healed." I said, because I have people that call me or talk to me about that, and they say, "Well, I take it because of my eyes." And I said, "Okay." And they said, "Well, you know, my blood pressure's normal for the first time in 27 years. I don't walk with a cane anymore, but my eye hasn't healed." You know, and I'm going, okay, you know, the body is prioritizing system shutdown. So it's concerned. It's an organism that's trying to stay alive, and so it's prioritizing everything that it sees fit to correct. And eventually, it'll get to your eye, but it may not be at the top of the list. So when people don't ask this question, you know, they say, "Oh, I want to take it for X." X may not be the reason the body thinks needs to be addressed first.
Exactly, and we have the same thing when it comes to our therapy, in that people don't do it consistently, and so they don't get the result. And the body recognizes one pain at a time primarily, and so that's the one where they feel the result. When I used to treat racehorse jockeys, they'd come, "My back hurts," so I treat their back. They'd come back the next day, "Well, my shoulder hurts." "Well, let's work on your shoulder today because we're chasing it." So what you're saying is the same thing can happen with the C60. It's going to where the body's asking for the help first, potentially.
Correct. And then when you get to a point of saturation, is that a fair term for C60, or to a level that your body has absorbed all it can use and then you discharge it, you've done all you can do. And Dr. Loretta and us she's experimenting with that, with ketosis, using ketosis strips to check her ketosis level because of carb removal. And when she took C60 this past Sunday, the C60 showed up in the ketosis strips, so she can talk about that.
That's freaky. No, it is. The reason it's freaky is that sticks were never designed to look for carbon. And so they're there to look for ketones. And so there must be something in the reagents that they have on the strips that are sensitive to carbon, because it was quite shocking expecting to see purple to find charcoal gray on the sticks. That was, yeah, I have pictures of that too.
Yeah.
You know, that's very interesting. And so we have several people watching us and being with us today. If they have any questions, you want to put it in the chat box, we'd be happy to answer your questions. Doctor, thank you so much for your input and the success that you're experiencing with your eyes and certainly your overall health. So Max, one of the questions that people see, or you go online and thanks, doctor, appreciate it very much. When people go online, how are C60 products different, and what are you doing to tell us about that?
Well, that's a strange, it's a unique question, but it's a great question, and I'm not. We designed this product. We designed the product to test on my mother and myself, so no expenses were spared. I got the best oil. I got the best source of carbon 60 through a NASA connection, the highest quality, and use that source for that application. So over time, nothing has changed. We still use the best oils, we use organic, fresh oil. Our products made in vat containers, and we do them by lots. And we consume product from every vat, from every lot. So us ourselves are taking the exact same product that the consumer is getting. But here's something that all these people that are making C60 in their garage and selling it and looking for a financial windfall, we have $25,000, $30,000 worth of equipment that we use in the production of our product, as well as in an expansion form to even make more product as demand increases. And so you can go buy a beaker and go buy some C60 from somebody online and oil from Walmart, and you're going to make a product that may perform, may be decent. I do not know. All I know is our product are getting results. We're seeing the results. We do interaction with doctors, colleges, university. I've spoken at a couple of universities about this to their medical staff and their educational professionals. So, we're doing it at a level to not monetary gain, but to help mankind and animals. Which we haven't discussed at all.
No, and we should.
Dramatic improvement in animals. But let me get back to our product. So I know this is going to sound crazy because we own Macular, which controls, we work with bugs and plants for the grow industries and farmers throughout the world. And we're in foreign countries as well as here in the United States, and it's alchemy spelt backwards. It's Macular Ag, and we're successful in that. But we work in electromagnetic field control as well as some scalar, an unresearched electric phenomenal in electromagnetic fields. And we use that same technology to make our C60 that no manufacturer can do. Nobody. Because they don't have the capability. They don't have the research to be done. So our product may be imitated, but it's never duplicated.
Okay. Phil, did you have something to say?
Yeah, let him get in here. He's tired of looking at the back of my head.
There's a conscious element that comes into play, and it's just plain consciousness where we work with the products in our hands and the tech activities, the applications that we're working with actually enhance the product in some way. Because like anything else that we do, When you touch something, quantum physics, entanglement, those energies are associated with what we're doing. So it's the process, it's the applications that we're working in, the equipment, small techniques like, for instance, stirring in one direction and stirring in another direction. There are changes that we can make that actually enhance or change the product itself, and obviously in a positive way.
So that's what you're doing. I want to show a screen here, if I may, where we're talking about research. There's a lot of research out there. Can you give us a little background on how you've participated with the research on your product and where you're going?
I've got it. I can't tell you the institutes, but you can figure the top cancer institute in Houston, the Cleveland Heart Clinic, a cardiologist there is using it in blood research. We just have the lead doctor from Argentina who is going to put it in clinical trials in their psychiatric hospital. So we've got a lot going on that we can't divulge because we're actually doing things to quantify our results while others are just selling product and duplicating our information and putting it on their website. And we've had to go chase them down because they're not doing any research. They're making it in their garage in their underwear and putting a label on it and say, oh, go look at Live Longer Labs and our stuff's just like it. Well, that's a complete farce.
Yeah.
You know, do you want to drive a Yugo across the United States or do you want to drive a Mercedes? You know, you get what you get. And we stand behind our product. But like I said, we use the money from C60 to further research. We're into conscious research. We've developed a box that can communicate with animals and turn it into syntax. We use it for ourselves. You know, it's part of what the Macular Tech. I have an EEG here from Emotive Technologies where we're doing conscious research and see how the C60 affects the brain, and can we cause synapses to fire in areas of the brain that have gone dead or have been damaged. So my sister that worked at NASA now works for one of the top psychologists in the world. They come from all over. Movie stars fly into Houston, people fly in, and a direct link between her and I discussing what our research is finding and how they can use it in their application. And so research, yes, we're off the chart on research and we're self-funded. We take the money from C60 to do the research where big companies will push the no button when you get too close to flirting with profit margins. And that doesn't work for us.
I understand. How about pets? Let's talk, if we may, about dogs. I think Phil's got a story about dogs.
Yeah.
My dog, I have 2 dogs, and they've been taking C60 for about 3 years. I've been taking it for almost 5. And my dogs one of them has lupus and also has cataracts, and it's been clearing up considerably. So I'm continuing to give my dogs that. They act like puppies. They are both 11 and 12 years old, and they're just like puppies.
We had a 12-year-old Chihuahua that we took in to the vet at probably close to a year ago, and the vet had seen the dog at 5 years and took the x-rays from 5 years and compared it to my dog at 12 years. It said your dog looks better at 12 years than she does at 5 years.
Wow. So what about dosage in small animals?
That's another variable. You know, we're stuck in a society where, you know, if you're 8 to 14 years old, you take this size of pill. If you're 18 to 24 and less than 150 pounds, you know, That doesn't work. It's all based on oxidative stress. So like the Chihuahua, we would give her a dropper fill once to twice a week. You know,
And
you can put it on food.
Yeah,
He's got big dogs. I mean, they look like
they're
horses.
medium sized. They're about 45 pounds. But my
Okay.
dogs get it in dropperfuls in their food, both in the morning and the evening meal. And I mix it with olive and sometimes coconut and sometimes avocado. But I think because the oils are carriers for the C60, then if you can tolerate or not tolerate a particular oil, then that's the kind of oil to either avoid or to take more of.
So how much do you give to your 40-pound dogs?
I give a 2 dropperfuls in the morning and 2 in the evening.
Between the two of them?
No, each. And
Each.
I have 2 dishes. Once I separate their food into 2 dishes, I'll put 2 droppers full in one and 2 droppers full in the other.
Okay. Now, so let me ask, let's talk about a horse.
I'm sorry?
Let's talk about a horse. Is there the application for a horse?
For a horse.
Yes.
I have horses. I have horses in Ireland that a horse trainer is working with, and from Shetland pony all the way to an ex-racehorse. And, well, we have a couple, well, I don't know that I can say that. I had a horse that we bet on in the Kentucky Derby that was taking C60 as well as the owner and the trainer. So I hope they don't consider it a performance-enhancing drug for a horse. So it's not, because it's carbon in a natural oil. And, yeah, they couldn't find it anyway unless they have an electron microscope that's $40,000 or whatever the case may be.
So there is no toxic level of C60. So experiments with the rats, all they did was cause them to live longer and healthier. So overdosing dogs, animals of any kind, even people, can't be a problem. All it can do is extend. Now, you may not, once you get the homeostasis, you may eliminate the C60 and the oils, but it won't harm you at all. It extends life, is what this research shows.
I took 2 ounces a day for 6 weeks. And once I reached a saturation point, I didn't see any gain, but I saw nothing harmful. And so I've pushed the limits that I wanted to know for myself. And so that you know, my blood work is perfect. I don't have a cavity. I got 20/20 vision. I can hear a gnat fart 40 miles away. I mean, I can hear noises. I can hear noises that, you know, my wife goes, "You heard that?" And I said, "Yeah, I heard somebody close the door half a block away." So as oxidative stress is removed from the system, dude, I'm seeing an amplification of, and I'm not saying superhuman, but I'm going back to childhood, literally. I'm re-experiencing things. I got an email from somebody, and he goes, "I feel colder than I ever felt." He goes, "A C60 making me colder?" And I emailed him back, and I said, "Well, how cold is it there?" And he said, "Well, it's 7 degrees. And I said, "Well, damn, you ought to feel cold. You know, what are you talking about?" And he goes, "Well, I think I'm more sensitive to temperature." I said, "Were you sensitive to temperature as a kid?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "So now the dullness is going away?" And he goes, "I never thought of it like that." So where we go from here, I don't know. There is no long-term trials. There's no long-term trials with half the medications or 90% of the medications out there. But we have been taking it. I've been taking it myself since early 2011, 2012. So, and I take high doses, and I use it topically and on my face. I have seen a reduction in wrinkles of probably 60% or 70%. Even my doctor freaks out. So he's now taking it. So we don't know where the limits are. And as far as a horse, the people in Ireland, she gives half a bottle to her horse every week. You know, we have 5 bottle packs for $200 or $250. I don't know where your value point is, and everybody's monetary levels are different. But I know you got Wi-Fi, cable, a cell phone, maybe smoking cigarettes, drinking a pack of beer. You may not want to remove some of those things if you want to improve quality of life and apply it to something that improves quality of life. Improve your diet, drink purified water, and take C60 Live. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
On a personal note, I no longer wear glasses, and I was encouraged because of Max's mom. I started to walk my dogs early in the morning without my contacts on. And then after a year and a half to 2 years, I noticed that I could see clear details, small things like the power line wires, leaves on trees, cars. I could see people in the cars when they're driving by. And I realized I'm not wearing any glasses. And so I stopped wearing glasses, and I haven't worn them for 3 years. I see great.
At this point in the webinar, we lost our audio connection from our studios, for which I greatly apologize. So I want to thank you for joining us on this webinar with Max Champie from C60 Living Longer Labs, and we look forward to answering any questions you may have. Just email them to magnawave1@gmail.com with regards to C60 or wellness webinars, and we'd be happy to answer your questions. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Goodbye.